SportsCenter tonight, Jeff Rickard in for the evening here on ESPN Radio and ESPNRadio.com. Of course, Western Conference Finals, 2 games in the books, and game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Miami Heat taking on the Indiana Pacers. That one starts tomorrow night, and here to help us kind of figure out what's going on with these two teams, we talked to Nick Hauselman from bballbreakdown.com, and he's a guy who's been watching basketball and coaching basketball and checking things out on tape for a long, long time. And Nick, first of all, thanks so much for being here on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. We appreciate it. Tim Legler and I were talking about this last night. We both think that the Indiana Pacers can give the Miami Heat a run here. Can they win? I don't know, but I think they can give them a real run here. When you look at both of these teams on tape and you see what they do and how they approach the game, what kind of chance do you give the Pacers here?
Well, I've been saying a lot on Twitter that I think the Pacers have a shot at getting to 6 games. And so they're going to give them a run for their money, like you said, and a lot of it has to do with defense. But the bottom line is, if you don't have an offense that can generate good shots, and I'm not saying that they have to make a lot of those shots, but you have to have an offense that gets you good shots on the road in a hostile environment in the playoffs. If you don't do that, you're not going to have a real good chance of winning.
What are the chances we're seeing a star in the making in Lance Stephenson? Is this something he can keep up and do consistently, or is he going to be every other game he's going to play well, then he's not going to play so well? What's the story with him as you break him down?
I anticipate a little what we call sphincteritis as the shorts get a little tighter as you get deeper in the playoffs. And he's going to have to prove it to me that he's going to be able to take good shots and make good decisions, because when they play against the defense like Miami, which they haven't done before, it's going to really turn up the pressure, and you need to make split-second decisions. And I'm not sold yet on him. He's going to have to really prove it to me, just as Paul George, who also is a budding superstar, needs to prove it to me as well.
You know, one of the things I've liked about Indiana's run through this postseason is it seems to me that Frank Vogel has his finger on the pulse of what every guy is capable of doing, what he needs to do with those guys on offense and defense, and he seems to have gotten all of those guys to buy in. I know that's a lot to digest, but when I make those statements, how do you react?
Oh, I react very favorably. I think that's one of the keys to coaching in the NBA, where you have to get guys to believe in what they're doing is going to work. It stands out pretty obviously when you don't believe in it, and you see a lot of the bad teams in the NBA who clearly are not on the same page. So, when I watch what Vogel has done, it's been really impressive. Even the little sound bites you see in the huddles where, you're not getting a lot of inside information. They're going to edit that stuff out on TV. But what he says and how he communicates is very impressive to me, and it's very clear to me why he can get his players to play for him.
Nick Hauselman from bballbreakdown.com joining us here to talk about the Eastern Conference Finals. Game 1 coming up tomorrow night. Pre-game coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. right here on ESPN Radio. So let's talk about the Miami Heat now. We know LeBron James. We know Dwayne Wade might be a little gimpy, but we know he's there. We know Chris Bosh and what he can do, and Ray Allen shooting outside. We know all these things. We know all these guys. They're almost household names now. So if I'm the Miami Heat, I'll be just fine if I do what?
Well, I think the key here, and what the dirty little secret no one talks about that we've been charting for several years now, is when you look at the number of field goals that both LeBron and Dwayne take combined, if you can get that percentage of field goals as jump shots, more than 50%, you have a very significant chance of winning that game. So what I mean is you can get them to take more jump shots than shots in the lane combined, you have a very good shot at winning. And I looked at the 3 games they played, and overall the Pacers won 2 of those games. And overall, they averaged 51% jump shots versus 49% of their shots being in the lane. So that's what's the key here for the Heat, is they need to be able to get shots in the lane and attack and not settle for contested jump shots.
Why were the Chicago Bulls, as undermanned as they were, able to, until the very end of the series, really give Miami fits?
Well, that's a great question. And I've been saying this a lot in our breakdowns and on Twitter as well, where I wasn't impressed, as everybody else was, with this new Miami Heat offense. And everyone's talking about how great it is. All it is a 5-man out, no post-up player, and they're looking for skip passes and then quick dribble and pitches out and kick-outs for shots. When you play against a good defense that rotates well and also stops middle penetration, which is a really big thing for the good defensive coaches, and you'll watch the Pacers' feet, they will force the guys on the wings down toward the baseline and not let them penetrate to the middle. And if you can stop that from happening suddenly, the Heat have a lot of trouble getting good shots. And that's what the Bulls did in spades. It was every possession was contested. Every possession was forced down to the baseline with lots of help and overload. And when you do that against an offense that doesn't have a lot of action on the weak side, like the Heat doesn't have, then they have a lot of trouble scoring it for stretches.
Nick Haselman, thanks so much for stopping by from bballbreakdown.com. Again, people can follow him on bballsource on Twitter. Thanks so much for stopping by. We appreciate it, man.
My pleasure. Anytime.